Starting off, this is a bit of a review. From here, the first thing is all the time, if he's got grips on me, what have you, all the time I want to start off keeping him lined up. So whether I'm angled in here or I'm upside down facing him, however, I always want to be knowing exactly where he is. He's lined up kind of 12 to 6 with me and my knees are to my chest. Okay, knees to chest is very important. From here, as soon as I get overextended, it's very easy for him to just step around. He can just go with it, and now I've essentially exposed this space to him. So one of the criteria for passing the guard in most passes is going to be your opponent separating your knees from your chest. So I always got to make sure that I close that off. So the exception would be if I can create some sort of grip on the upper body and get a push-pull type of action where I can now start to stretch Mike out. Now that's a different story. Now I'm actually extending my knees from my chest with good technique and good purpose. But before that, I always want to be thinking knees to my chest. I make myself a ball. It'll be very hard for him to get into that space, and I always have the chance to recover my guard as early as possible. Now the second principle is going to be my leg and foot position, leg and or foot position. So from here, the key thing to keep in mind is that when you're playing guard, it's not just a matter of having your legs in between you and your opponent, even though that's important. It's also having your legs in between you and your opponent and creating attachments. So that means that wherever my legs or my feet are in contact with my opponent, there has to be pressure. So if I, for instance, put a hook in here, my foot shouldn't be relaxed. It shouldn't be too slack. It should always have a little bit of pressure in there. That doesn't mean my whole leg is tensed up and straining with effort. What it means is that I've transferred some weight. If I have a foot on the hip from here and Mike's giving me pressure, it's like a monkey paw gripping in. A foot on his thigh, transferring weight from my hip on the lifting off the mat onto the foot. If I have grips with the biceps, again, kind of monkey paw action in here, and always pressure, pressure, pressure. Okay. So what that does is a couple of important things. Number one, it creates an attachment, so it's very hard for him to release that. And number two, it's another set of eyes for you. It's your feelers. Okay, it's like your antenna, tactile sensitivity. So I don't have to see what he's doing. I can feel what he's doing. I can feel his intention. I can stay with him and know when he's trying to beat my position at a given time, so I can either maintain it or move to another position to counter. Next principle in here is grips. And again, the grip game, especially with the gi, is huge. Also important for no gi, but it becomes more sophisticated with the gi, obviously, because the grips are that much tighter. So from here, the whole thing is whoever gets dominant grips and acts on them the quickest will usually win the exchange. So anytime I can get dominant grips right away, I want to use them. I want to get them and go, start to use my technique. Anytime Mike has dominant grips, I'm always thinking to retract my knees to my chest, okay? Making sure I have good grips in here, and I'm always looking to re-pummel or to break his grips. So from here like this, he's got good inside position, he's got good base, so I would from here have to be thinking about immediately using some sort of motion to break the grip so that I can then start to spin back in, or make some sort of attachment to him so I can then pummel, so even if I don't break the grip, I've essentially got some sort of inside position again so he can't just walk around and pass. But whole principle there is grips, 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 act on them, get grips with good posture, and go as soon as possible. If you lose the grip exchange, you have to bust a move without hesitation to recover and either break the grips or regain inside position. And the next principle here is hip movement, which also has to do with angles. So a lot of times you'll find that when you get stuck playing from your back and you're getting passed consistently, getting stacked, getting uncomfortable positions, it's often because your partner just gets a read on you and they're able to take advantage of the fact that you're playing too stationary. So I can be in a certain space, occupying that space, but I want to be starting to play off my hip, attacking at angles. For instance, big difference between me just having a guard here and staying here for too long trying to attack while Mike has good elbows inside, he's got good inside grips, versus me getting off at an angle like this where I'm playing off my hip, and now I've created opportunities. Okay? It's very difficult for him now to just pass. He's got to recover from the fact that I'm already attacking his posture and I'm creating some space open in here, so even if he wants to keep that grip, he's very outstretched, possible for me to start to come in here, go for different types of attacks. So one of the keys to playing a higher level guard even if you have a fairly basic game in terms of your technical possibilities, maybe you only have a very simple set of routes that you play, that's no problem. The thing is though, what will make that an advanced guard is not only your timing and your execution, but it will also be your ability to consistently change your angles and keep the pressure on the other person adjusting to what you're trying to do rather than just going ahead and passing because they have a read on your position. Now the last part will be the actual attack. So part of your guard retention will always be the offense. So best defense is a good offense. As I've talked about quite a few times before in the 40+ series. Now from here, I always want to start to accentuate my guard by keeping constant threats to Mike that he has to worry about being submitted, swept, or having me sit or stand up out of the guard at any given time. So there's always those pressures being cycled while I'm maintaining my guard. Now he's got to worry about surviving, not passing. So from here, at any given point, as I'm moving around, okay, there could be my submission attempts, my entry there for a triangle, for instance. I'm moving out, I'm looking for a sweep. Okay, he defends, I'm turning it into another sweep, or at any point, he starts to really hunker down his base, and I have the ability to actually sit right out of that and maybe turn it into another reversal, or I just get out of dodge because I don't like the fact that he's giving me a lot of passing pressure. That also is an attacking pressure, by the way, to be able to sit or stand up out of the guard. So when you can really effectively cycle those, much, much harder for the person to relax at any point so that they can get their grips in their position to pass.